off the table to carry them in the kitchen. Man, I could just kick my dad. He would choose this Shabbat to teach about fornication. Oh, y'all should have heard him. Worldly women have relations with a man, not Hebrew women. Because a good Hebrew woman knows that if she has consensual sex with a man, then that makes him her husband in the eyes of Yah. Then, of course, he had Yaakov read Exodus 22, verse 16. And if a man entices a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. And of course, Gideon's angry gaze flew to me. Monroe the nut erupts in laughter. I put my hand over my face, so ashamed and embarrassed, I know I turned red. I peeped at him through my fingers, and he looked at me through narrowed eyes. Ah well, that was that. He was gonna go running for sure this time. I shrugged to myself as I picked up more plates. I would just continue on with my plan to raise my baby in Yah without his father. I wasn't one to try and trap a man. I gave myself that prep talk as I walked into the kitchen, putting the dishes on the counter. Yaakov, won't you go and help SaafiYah in the kitchen? I heard my father say. I closed my eyes. Dang it. This night was getting worse and worse. My father was dead set on seeing me and Yaakov married. He was my dad's perfect idea for a husband for me. And one didn't have to be a rocket scientist to know why. Yaakov was what Nuriah called my dad's Cain man. Because in Yaakov's eyes, my dad can do no wrong. Hey, Akoti, you need a hand? He asked. I shook my head, smiling at him. No, Ak, I'm good. Maybe you can just help throw away some of the trash from the yard. That would be really good. Okay, so yeah, I was trying to get rid of him. I didn't know what Gideon would do, and do you know? No sooner had I thought that, he walked into the kitchen. His powerful body filling it with his presence. I looked at him for only a moment before turning back to the sink, my heart racing out of control. I didn't have to see him to know exactly what he was doing. He stopped at the door, looking at us, before he slowly walked in the kitchen, going to the cooler where he leaned down, pulling out a bottle of water. Standing, facing us, he opened the bottle and lifted it to his mouth. He was so powerful, y'all. I can't even explain what it felt like to have him standing there watching us. Even Yaakov began to fidget. He looked at Gideon. Hey, did you enjoy the Shabbat lesson? He asked. Gideon nodded his head. I did. It was He paused for just a moment. I could feel his eyes on me, enlightened. Yaakov nodded his head, chuckling nervous. You see, even though Gideon had said anything offensive to the Ak, he was not sending off friendly vibes, you know what I mean? He stood there with his feet spread apart slightly and his shoulders squared. He looked at Yaakov with a frown that was very intimidating. Yaakov blinked at him, as if he was too nervous to continue even looking at him. SaafiYah, he said, instead of trying to continue to have a conversation with the big man that was scowling at him. I also came in here because I know it's probably time for you to buy more bottles and things for your ointments and stuff, and I wanted to know if you needed me to take you tomorrow to go to the container store. Nope, Gideon said, so rudely, my eyes flew up to his. I made a face at him that said, behave. Yaakov looked at Gideon, and I guess he just chose to pretend he hadn't heard him because he tried again. I have to go up north anyway, and I know you like the container store in Milwaukee, so It won't be a problem to run you over there. Maybe we can stop somewhere and get lunch." Gideon chuckled, shaking his head, folded his massive arms across his massive chest, causing the muscles to bulge ridiculously. "Nope," he said again, this time more ignorant than the last. Excuse me, Ak. You ain't got nothing to do with this," Yaakov said, very nervously, but bravely, in a noble kind of way. "Wrong," Gideon said, unfolding his arms. He took a step towards Yaakov. "Okay." I grabbed Yaakov's arm and began to push him out the kitchen. "If you can just help me clean up the trash from out there, I would really appreciate it," I told him, smiling up at him. He frowned down at me. "You come with me," he said. "Nope," Gideon said from somewhere behind me, close. "I'll be all right," I told him, giving him a solid shrug out the kitchen. He frowned at Gideon as he walked away out of the patio doors. I whipped around to look at Gideon, who was now leaning against the counter close to the sink. I walked back to the sink angrily. I made dishwater. "Can you behave?" I hissed at him. He turned and faced me, standing so close to me that his hard stomach rubbed up against my arm. He leaned down and spoke, so close to my ear that his lips touched my earlobe as he spoke. I closed my eyes as shivers raced from my ear down to the center of my core. I almost moaned. "Why should I behave, Princess Ethan? How else should a man respond when he comes in a room and see another man pushing up on his wife?" The last of the statement he growled. "Okay, yeah, I'll be right back. Just let me go ahead and check on SaafiYah real quick," I heard my father's voice come from the direction of the sliding doors. Gideon moved in, leaning back against the counter, with his arms folded. "Hey," my dad said, stepping into the kitchen. "What's going on in here?" Yaakov seemed a little shaken up. He frowned at how close Gideon stood to me. "I was just telling SaafiYah how much I learned from you today, sir," Gideon said. And of course, my dad's chest puffed up like a peacock. I think Gideon had discovered my dad's weakness, flattery. "Oh yeah? And what did you take away from today's lesson, son?" "I learned today that Yah does not honor fornication. And if a man seduces a maiden and lays with her, especially if it's repeatedly, that he should do the right thing and take her for a wife. Like you said today, sir, thus says Yah, we are not to make whores out of the daughters of Zion." I closed my eyes as he ruthlessly nailed the nails in my coffin. I was so busted it wasn't even funny. "That's right, young man. I am glad my words were able to edify you." "Really, Dad?" I said, turning around to look at him. I was fed up with them both. "I don't think you can really take credit for what thus says Yah." I slammed the dish towel down on the counter and ran up the stairs to my room, locking my door, closing everybody out. And of course, tears started coming out my eyes, because of course I was an emotional wreck. I felt like I had been busted in a lie. I should have told Gideon the truth a long time ago. Angrily, I dried my tears away. What was I doing beating myself up? What right did he have to make me feel guilty? It wasn't me that kidnapped somebody. He should feel guilty. I got up from the bed and I took me a nice, long, hot shower, letting the hot water relax muscles that had been so tense the last few hours that I felt like I was snapped in half. Then my mind sorta went somewhere on its own. I couldn't help but think about that shower that Gideon and I had shared before I left. I closed my eyes and moaned when images of the way he had loved me in that shower washed over me. Oh, goodness, I was coming unhinged. I reached up and I turned off the water. After drying myself, I rubbed my lavender butter I had made into my skin. I had a feeling I would need it to get to sleep tonight. I put on my robe, tying it as I walked out of the bathroom. However, the sight of Gideon sitting in my reading chair almost made me have a stroke. I put my hand on my chest, trying to calm my heart before it killed me. "Gideon," I said, feeling like my breath had been robbed. He sat back in the chair relaxed, with his hands linked together in front of his mouth. He scowled up at me. It felt like I was standing in a room with a wolf that would pounce and devour me if I made the slightest move. I looked back at my door. It was still locked. I turned back to him. "I came through the window. You should know by now. There is no door created by men that will keep me away from you." He was mad. I think now was a good time to apologize. "Look, Gideon, I'm what?" he said, coming to his feet. So smoothly it looked like he floated up. "What, sorry?" he continued as he began to stalk me. "What you sorry for, Princessita?" I took a step back for every step he took forward. "You sorry for leaving me, dying on the ground?" he growled, his eyes flashing angrily at me. I closed my eyes when my back came in contact with the wall. "You sorry for leaving Monroe shot in his bed?" The muscles ticked in his jaw. He did not stop until he stood in front of me, so close that I could feel his angry breaths on my face. I shut my eyes again, squeezing them shut because I couldn't face his anger. "Is that what you sorry for?" he growled in my ear. I nodded my head. "Look at me, SaafiYah." Slowly, I opened my eyes, looking into his angry ones. But as he looked at me, they began to change. Another emotion was coming to life in them, the emotion I had just felt in the shower. He leaned in and smelled my neck. "You smell so damn good," he whispered. Nervously, I licked my lips. His eyes followed, and as if it had a will of his own, his head lowered and our lips touched. At first, it was gentle, as if we both just needed to feel that connection again. He lifted his head, his eyes pouring into my soul. When he lowered his lips again to mine, the gentleness was gone. His mouth devoured mine. There was no other word to describe his hungry caress. I moaned as I got washed away in his fever. Oh, it felt so good. I clutched him to me, needing to feel him deeply. He lifted me and I wrapped my legs around his waist. With one hand he went at his belt, the other he used to open my robe, his hungry lips following the path of his hand. Y'all, it's best I stop now and fast forward a little bit. Needless to say, we both seemed to have fallen under the most intense fever, and the only relief was, well, you know what it was. Anyway, he eventually carried me to the bed, and this time made love to me again, but much slower and calmer. Later that night, he lay with his head on my chest. I gently rubbed his braided head. He was rubbing my thigh. His hand got higher and came to rest on my stomach. I stared up at the ceiling, wondering if he would notice. He gently rubbed my stomach, his hand encompassing the slight bulge in it. He lifted his head, looking down at my stomach. His hand stilled. He turned his head as if to see my stomach from a different angle. I bit my lip. His eyes flew up to mine. He saw the look on my face and shot up out of the bed, reaching to turn on the lamp that was at my bedside table. His eyes going back to my stomach. I brought my arms up to shyly cover my chest, but I might as well not even have bothered because his attention was fully focused on my stomach. "Saf," was all he said. I sat up. "Gideon, I'm so sorry." I held my hand out to him. He frowned. Did you know before you left me?" he hissed, that muscle ticking in his jaw. I shook my head as tears came to my eyes. "No, I swear, I didn't find out till almost a month after we got back." He sat back on the side of the bed. We gotta tell your dad that you're my wife. I panicked. No, Gideon, no. I sat up and straddled his lap. Gideon, please. You have to court me first. I don't want to hurt my dad. We have to do this the right way. He wrapped his arm around my waist, frowning at me. Don't you think it's too late for that? I put my hand over his mouth. He was getting angry and his voice was getting louder. Please, Gideon. I kissed his cheek. He frowned at me. Look, I'm a grown man. I ain't into playing games, SaafiYah. You my woman, pregnant with my child. I ain't getting ready to play prom date with your dad. He snapped. Look, we gonna tell him we married, getting ready to have a kid. You pack your bags, and we out. I put my hand over his mouth again. Really, Gideon? And when he does the math on my pregnancy, what do I say then? Should I tell him that you're the man that kidnapped me and it was in your dungeon that I almost starved to death? Okay, y'all, on a side note, I know that was a low blow, but I was desperate. And then, I continued, I'll tell him you made me your slave and put me in chains. I held up my wrist, showing him the golden cuffs. I'm sure he'll have peace knowing that that's the man his only child is going to live with and have a baby by. And, Gideon, think about this. If my dad ain't got peace, do you think I'll really be happy? I paused, letting that soak in. Then I circled my arms around his neck. Please, Gideon, just court me for a little while. I can't tell my dad the truth. It will kill him. Please, just come by the house and court me. I kissed his cheek. Please. I gently kissed his lip. Gideon, please. He stared at me, frowning for a good minute. The brother made me beg. But eventually, he nodded his head. Yeah, I guess you're right. He looked down, shaking his head. What? I asked, rubbing my fingers through his thick beard. I'm just not looking forward to climbing up through that damn window every night and out it every morning. Hell, I ain't did that since I was my Rose age. I smiled at him before I gave him a kiss that made him forget all about his woes and focus on making up for lost times.